Welcome back. I know it's been a few weeks of not working on the FLH, and honestly I just haven't had time. Been working on kind of everything else, trying to move some inventory, move some things around the shop, and get things organized. Now I've got a ton of irons in the fire. Unfortunately I've got too many things going on and never enough time. But today we're working on the bike again. The weather's breaking, the snow is melting, it's kind of warmish outside, and I'm hoping that tomorrow or the next day is actually warm enough to be able to ride this thing. We had rain in the forecast today and rain in the forecast tomorrow, and rain and cold for me don't mix. Anyway, I'm going to put the battery in this thing today. I'm going to turn the fuel on. I've got some fresh gas in the tanks, and I'm probably going to end up hitting the carburetor with a little bit of starting fluid to see what it does. So we're going to try to start this thing on the stand today, see if we can get it running, see if it'll idle, see how it idles, because I haven't had this bike running since I first picked it up when I first saw the bike months ago now. The goal today is to get this thing started. See if it'll run. If it'll run, then hopefully the next day or so, I'll get it off the stand, we'll run it down the road, see how it goes. I've had this battery on a tender for quite a while now, and I'm just maintaining it at this point. I know it's not the right battery for this bike because it doesn't fit properly, but that's okay. It'll work for now. I'll most likely run this battery. I may just get some foam blocks to hold it in place and then put the cover on around it, and that should work, at least for the time being. I know there's some work that needs to go into this bike, and I'll slowly get to those projects as I can. This battery cable is a little bit short, so I'm going to have to address that eventually. But right now I'm just trying to get this thing to start. So I'm going to move the battery, probably going to tip it in place. I know that's not the proper way to do it. I'm going to make it fit for now. Alright, with all the wires tight now, let's see if we got power. I should have. So we got headlights or anything? Nope. No dash lights. The starter works. So we've got some electrical issues going on. We'll turn the fuel on. We'll see if we can get this thing to idle. my garage door open so that way I can get all the exhaust fumes out. We're going to give the throttle a couple of twists here. We'll give it a little spritz of ether. We'll see if we can get this to start. And I have an oil leak, and I'm not sure where that's coming from. Let's try that again. to say that was sort of a success. Obviously this thing had sat for a little while, all of the oil sumped and of course puked all over the table here, and unfortunately, made a giant mess. So I'll have to clean that up. I know this thing needs an oil change, so I'll have to go ahead and top it off. It is circulating oil into the oil bag, so that's a good sign. I know the system's actually working. It does have an S&S oil pump on it, but like I said, this thing has sat for months. When I bought it, it had been sitting and the guy started it up and it fired once. I know it puked then too, and then unfortunately I've had it sitting for a while too. It's going to need some work. It's going to need some love. I know that it needs oil lines, so that'll be something I'll have to address soon. So I'll buy some oil lines, I'll get those replaced, and then I'm going to start tackling some of the bigger parts of this bike. The headlight currently isn't working, but when I looked inside I noticed that it's busted in there. So I'm sure that the headlight itself is just broken, that the electrical actually works. There is no dash lights on here, but I'm not sure if there's even bulbs in here. I don't see one because one of the plates is missing off the top. One of the plastic pieces, that indicator pieces, is missing, so I don't see a bulb in there. I do not have brake lights. I did go through and replace the brake light switch here, rewired it, but maybe I've got it wired wrong or something's wrong in there because there was no brake light switch actually in the front master at all. There wasn't wiring for it, I should say. The actual switch itself was in there. Hopefully it's in good shape and works. If not, maybe the switch is bad. So I'll have to get my meter out and test that. And then if the rear brake light switch is bad too, of course replace that as well. But I'm happy to hear it run. It seems like it runs really well. Obviously the carburetor's a little bit dirty. It does need a little bit of an adjustment. So I'll have to go through and I'll adjust that, clean that up. It does have some old fuel sitting on it, unfortunately. So with that, I know I'll have to go through and clean the carburetor. Once the carburetor's clean and the oil line's replaced and there's oil in it, I really think this thing's going to be a good running machine. It's got a couple of electrical things and some quirks, but what old bike doesn't have quirks? I'm older than this bike and I've got more quirks than this thing, honestly. Anyway, this is where I wanted to go today. I wanted to take the time to go through and put the battery in this bike. I wanted to see with fresh fuel if this thing would just start and run. And obviously it did. It seems to run really well. I've got a good baseline figured out. I know I'll have to put some oil in this thing so I can run it down the road. I just want to take it down the road just to shift it through the gears. I've never actually run this bike through its gears. So I want to go through and I want to shift this in and out of all of its gears and make sure it's actually shifting well. The transmission fluid looks fresh, honestly. I did check it. It does look like it's in good shape. The oil that was in the bike was new too, so I think the previous owners of this bike had done an oil change on it. I'm not really sure. Even the old gas that I drained out of it wasn't bad gas. It didn't stink. It didn't have a terrible smell. Not like some of the bikes I've run into. I mean, it smelled like it had been sitting a little while, but not for years. So I did put fresh wreck gas in this. With that fresh wreck gas, I did put a little Marvel Mystery oil in the tanks as well to run through the carburetor. That'll help clean and lubricate things as well. But all in all, I'm pleased. I'm really happy this thing ran. It's nice to hear it running again. So with that, it's on to the next steps with this project. It's getting the oil in it again, getting it on the road in the next couple of days, running up and down the road and seeing where I'm at. Once I get that done, then I'm going to establish a good baseline. If this thing runs as good as I think it does and shifts just as well, then there's a whole new world of options I want to do to this bike. I've got an entire paint set I want to replace on this thing. I've got a brand new set of wheel and tires I want to put on this thing. I've got a different exhaust I want to put on this thing. There's a bunch of upgrades I want to make to this. I'm going to do all these things in an effort to sell this motorcycle. Obviously this is not part of the keep pile for me. This is a bike that I picked up to be able to turn. So I'm going to take the time to put in the time with this bike to make it nice again. So someone will want it. Someone will want to take the time to own it and love it and care for it for the next, 40 some odd years. Anyway, I wanted to bring you guys along with this process here and show you, that this bike could run. And, of course, get it running today. And I'm pleased to say that it did run, and I feel like it ran well. As always, appreciate you guys following along and watching the show. If you like this type of content, give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, hit that subscribe button. I've got a lot of people that watch my videos and are not subscribed, so if you could, help me out and hit that subscribe button, I would really appreciate it. If you've got friends that like this type of content, please feel free to share these videos with your friends, with your buddies. If you have feedback to add or offer, please leave comments. I like comments. I try to respond to every one of them. I have not done a video response. I actually type the response out late night when I can't sleep. but I'm always happy to do it. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.